He never planned to fall in love again, especially not with someone he'd hired. But that night, when his little girl tugged at his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, can she stay forever?" Everything changed. Ethan Cole was the kind of man who commanded a room without saying a word. At just 35, he was the CEO of one of New York's fastest-growing tech companies, a man respected, envied, and feared in boardrooms. Yet behind the success and the tailored suits, he was just a father trying to raise his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, after losing his wife 3 years ago. Every morning, he'd braid Lily's hair the way her mom used to, clumsy at first, but better now. Every night, he'd read her a bedtime story before retreating to his office, where the only company he had was his late wife's picture and the silence that echoed through the mansion. But this time, silence wasn't an option. His company's annual gala was coming up, a lavish event attended by investors, board members, and media. And this year, Ethan was under pressure. Rumors had begun to swirl that he was too cold, too detached, and too robotic to lead a company with heart. His PR had suggested a fix: show the world his softer side, attend the event with someone charming, graceful, warm, a girlfriend. Ethan hated the idea. Love wasn't a performance. But after weeks of persuasion, he gave in, not because he cared about public perception, but because he didn't want Lily to hear whispers about her dad again. So he did something he never thought he'd do. He called an elite agency that provided companions for events, just someone to act as his date. Nothing more. Professional, polite, temporary. That's how Sophie Bennett ended his life. Sophie was not what he expected. She wasn't flashy or overly polished. She walked in wearing a simple navy dress, her brown hair tied back, eyes kind but unsure. There was a warmth about her, a softness that didn't belong in Ethan's world of suits and schedules. When Lily met her, she froze. "Are you my daddy's new friend?" she asked shyly. Sophie smiled and knelt to Lily's height. "I'd like to be, if that's okay with you." Lily grinned, and just like that, Sophie was in. At the gala, Sophie played her role perfectly. She laughed at Ethan's colleagues' jokes, made polite conversation, and even danced when a few board members' wives insisted. But what caught Ethan off guard wasn't her professionalism, it was how real she was. She didn't try to impress anyone. When she noticed Ethan getting tense after an investor's rude comment, she squeezed his hand under the table and whispered, "You don't have to prove anything." No one had said that to him in years. Later that night, when they returned home, Lily was still awake. She ran to Sophie, hugging her leg tightly. "Can you tuck me in?" Ethan started to say no, it wasn't her job, but Sophie nodded softly and followed Lily upstairs. From the hallway, Ethan watched as Sophie sat beside his daughter, brushing hair from her face as she read a bedtime story. The gentle sound of Lily's giggle filled the house again, the same giggle that had faded after her mother's passing. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel alone. Days passed. What was meant to be one night became an unspoken routine. Sophie began visiting under the pretense of helping with events and schedules. She'd cook pancakes with Lily on Sundays, join their movie nights, and slowly, the house started to feel like a home again. Ethan found himself smiling more, laughing even. The walls he'd built began to crack, but that scared him. One evening, after dinner, he asked, "Sophie, why do you do this?" "The agency, I mean." She hesitated, then looked down. "I was a teacher once. My mom got sick, and I needed money for her treatment. She's a broken bar, just paid better, but it's temporary. I want to go back to something real." That word "Arella" echoed in Ethan's mind for days. Everything seemed perfect until one morning, a gossip column appeared online. "Single dad CEO's secret romance, a paid girlfriend or real love?" The article had photos from the gala and claimed Sophie was hired to act as Ethan's partner. The news spread like wildfire. Investors called. Reporters camped outside his office. It was a PR disaster. Ethan confronted Sophie, anger and hurt in his voice. "Did you tell anyone? Did you sell this story?" Her eyes widened, trembling. "No, I would never, Ethan, please believe me." But his trust so fragilely snapped. "I think you should leave." Sophie left without a word. That night, Lily cried herself to sleep. "Daddy, why did you make her go?" "She made you smile again." Ethan had no answer. Days turned into weeks. Ethan buried himself in work, but the house felt colder than ever. Every corner reminded him of Safa, her laughter, her warmth, her kindness. Then one day, Lily walked into his office holding a crumpled paper. "Daddy, this was in my backpack. Miss Sophie gave it to me." Ethan unfolded it. It was a letter. "Ethan, I never wanted to hurt you or your daughter. I don't know who leaked that story, but I understand why you couldn't trust me. Please tell Lily she made me believe in love again, and tell her that sometimes, the best families are the ones we choose. A Sophie." At the bottom, a postscript: "If you ever need me, I'll be back teaching at Brookfield Elementary." The next morning, Ethan didn't go to the office. He drove straight to Brookfield Elementary. He found Sophie in a classroom, surrounded by children, laughing as she helped them paint. When she saw him, she froze. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice trembling. "I was angry, but not at you. You were the best thing that happened to us." Sophie's eyes softened. "What about the world? The rumors?" He smiled faintly. "Let them talk. My daughter already made up her mind." At that moment, Lily ran in from the hallway and threw her arms around Sophie. "Can she stay forever, Daddy?" Ethan looked at Safa, the woman who had turned his house back into a home, and whispered, "I hope so."